Thanks for joining us this afternoon, folks. We're going to get started here in a minute or two, so just grab your coffee or whatever your drink of choice is during our session, and we will get started in a bit. Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Janelle Dobbins, and I'm with the From the Land of Kansas program here at KDA, and we are so excited to have you join us today. KDA and the Kansas K-State Research and Extension are excited you've joined us for our Farmers Market Direct-to-Consumer Virtual Workshop this year. We continue with a great week of activities. Hopefully you've been able to join us earlier this week. On Tuesday, we had Adam Inman from KDA's Food Safety Program and Karen Blakesley, who introduced us to the new faces at the Kansas Value Added Food Lab. Also on Wednesday, yesterday, we had Mike Fink and Mike Pierce from KDA discussing the meat and poultry regulations. And then today we're going to be learning more about sales tax and then accepting SNAP, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, and then EBT, electronic benefit transfer. And then tomorrow session is our large one. It runs from 8:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. And we begin with a great keynote presentation by Michael Kilpatrick about how selling directly to consumers can increase your margins, grow your business, and reduce stress. We'll also have KDHE presenting on COVID-related changes for the spring and summer. Also, KDHE will be presenting on the Senior Farmers Market Nutrition Program. I'll be talking with my partner, Sammy Gleason, about the From the Land of Kansas program and the central registration for farmers markets. And we'll also be talking about Double Up Food Bucks program. So thanks for taking time out of your day to be part of this effort by participating online with us. So I just want to start with a couple of housekeeping items before we get going today. First off, during this presentation portion of the webinar, all participant microphones will be muted. But if you have questions during the presentation, please submit them in the Q&A button at the bottom of the screen. And then after each presentation, we will have a break and we will make sure we get all of those questions answered for you. Also, you may have noticed that we have added closed captioning for this presentation. If you would like it muted, click on the More button or the live transcript at the bottom, and you should see an option to hide subtitles. And if you do that, closed captioning will turn off. Submitted questions and comments are being monitored by some of our coworkers here at KDA and K-State Research and Extension, and they'll make sure we get all of them answered by the end of the session. At any time during the webinar, when you're asking a question, please include your name, city, your farmer's market, or your business name if it's applicable to the question you're asking. This webinar is being recorded and will be posted online for all participants. So as much as possible, the presentations will be online, so you can always go back and refer to them again later if you have additional questions. Also, if you happen to be selling pet treats or live plants, we have handouts and videos already posted on our website. You should be seeing the link come up in the chat box, so you can go directly to that link, scroll down beneath the Register Now button, and you'll see those handouts and videos, and you can look at those today. And then finally, if you had registered by February 8th and requested to receive copies of the regulations for farmers market and direct-to-consumer sales or the food labeling publication, you hopefully have received those in the mail already. If you actually registered after February 8th, we're hoping to get those publications mailed out at the end of this week. Or if you're realizing when I'm saying this that you didn't choose that you wanted publications sent to you and you would like some mailed to you, we'll be putting up a name and email address in the chat box, and you can reach out and request those publications if you need them for yourself or if you need them for all of the vendors at your farmers markets. So I'm going to now turn it over to Londa Nowadaki from K-State Research and Extension so she can introduce you to our speakers today.
Great, thank you very much, Janelle. And I want to welcome everybody again. My name is Londa Nwadike with K-State Research and Extension, as Janelle said, and we at KSRE are very happy to work together with KDA on organizing this. And we are also very glad to have with us today Lisa Lycombe-Jones. She is with the Department of Revenue. And before Lisa gets started, those of you that have joined us the other days, you know that we've been doing polls. So I just launched a poll, and this is just asking what products you're currently selling or which ones you're interested in selling, what you're interested in learning more about. It's just to give us kind of an idea of who's here in the audience today. In the case of today's session, it really, you know, the sales tax and MarketLink will be generally the same, but it just kind of gives us an idea of who's here today. And you can select more than one. So if you want to fill that out, we will let you have a few minutes to fill it out, and then you can be engaged. You know, we really miss having you all in person, but this way you can still kind of engage with each other and fill out the poll here. So, all right, well, we're at a pretty good percentage here, so I'm going to go ahead and end the polling. So I'm going to share the results here. So you can see most of the people that are here today are selling produce, which of course, any type of product that you're selling is great, but we got lots of produce sellers. And then we have quite a few prepared food sellers as well. Then also eggs and dairy products and meat. So, so we do have a number of things. And if you do want to write what else you're selling, you could put that into the Q&A box. Sorry, yeah, you can do that too. So. All right, I'm going to stop the polling. So with that, I am going to now turn it over to Lisa Lycombe-Jones of the Kansas Department of Revenue. And I've worked with Lisa the past few years here when we're putting on these workshops, and I found them to be very helpful in helping you to better understand how you can submit your sales tax the right way. So Lisa, we really appreciate your time and for sharing with us, and I'm going to turn it over to you, Lisa.
Okay, are you seeing my screens okay, Londa?
Nope, you need to try sharing it again, Lisa.
Whoops, I'm talking, but I'm muted. So
apologize for the technology. This is kind of.
That's okay. There you go.
Okay.
Okay, and then if you want to hit like the presentation view, either in the upper left or the bottom right, you can hit, yeah, so just go up, let me see. There you go, perfect. It's black.
All right, try that again. Good afternoon. As I was introduced, I have been with KDOR for 5 years, and I work with the special events, which does include farmers markets. So we're going to talk a little bit first about how the sales tax revenues are actually used. As you have probably guessed, it's your local schools, the roads, public health, city and county services, which include the police and fire, snow removal, parks and recreation fairs, and other local projects. So how does the sales tax get applied? This is applied to actually any retail sales of tangible personal property. So that would include rental and lease of that personal property. It also is admissions to amusement, entertainment, recreation services. Examples are tickets to anything, entry fees, participation in those events. So who must collect and remit those sales taxes? Almost every vendor must collect and remit on items sold in Kansas. That does include most not-for-profit entities, including churches, civic organizations, the youth sports, booster clubs, high school groups, government, and advocacy groups. So some of the most common questions that we hear at KDOR from new businesses is, how do I get registered for my business? Now, what do I need to do once I have gone through that process? What is taxable? How do I find the correct sales tax rate in jurisdictions? And how do I know when a tax rate changes? I'm selling on Amazon, so who reports and pays those sales taxes? So we'll go through some of that. Here's a list of what is taxable, and we have included what we call the KSA. So that is actually the publications that the state of Kansas has put down the legalese for. So any sale means a transfer, exchange, or barter in any manner of something that you've owned and have sold to someone. So whether it's principal, proprietor, agent, servant, or employee. All sales are taxable unless specifically exempted by law. And that list of the exemptions are in this document. You can find all of these on www.ksrevenue.org. And there'll be a list of resources at the end of this presentation as well. So as far as a rental, that is including the sale or furnishings of utilities within the state of Kansas, that is taxable. So if you're including tables and chairs with renting out a venue, that is a taxable item. Delivery fees. This is where we want to make sure that the charges of the sales tax to the customer for handling and delivery are also taxable. The sales tax is due whether the charge is included in the sales price or stated separately or billed separately. Credit card fees, some may take credit cards. When the retailer increases the selling price of the goods or services that compensate for the credit card charges, the credit card company works with them and will later deduct that from the payment it forwards to the retailer's account. The increase of the selling price for the goods are also subject to sales tax. As a business, you owe sales tax at the end user of the equipment, fixtures, tools, and other non-inventory items that you may purchase. For internet sales, which is where we're all moving towards a lot during this COVID season, there is no sales tax if shipped outside of Kansas. So Kansas is what we call a destination source tax, which we'll talk about in a little while. But if it's shipped within Kansas borders, the sales tax is due. So you can use the lookup tool for tax rate at ksrevenue.org to find the tax rate for the shipping address, okay, of where you're shipping to. If your business purchases items from outside of Kansas for non-inventory use as a component or an inventory item and does not pay a sales tax equal to your jurisdiction tax rate, your business owes consumers compensating use tax. As an example, the display shelves, computers, office supplies you may purchase without paying sales tax to if you have turned in a sales tax exempt form. So that's something to consider as well. Here we go with the destination-based sourcing. Under the destination sourcing rules, the rate of sales tax due on the in-state sales will be the combined state and local sales tax rate in effect where the customer takes delivery or possession of the purchased item. So this applies to the retailer sales tax, again, the compensating use tax and consumer sales tax. Sales tax is collected by the seller from the buyer and actually is holding that sales tax before it remits to the KDOR by the seller. The sales tax is sourced to the seller's business location if the buyer receives the merchandise there. If the merchandise is shipped and delivered to the buyer, the seller will collect the combined sales tax rate in the effect at the location where the purchaser receives the item. If the merchandise is purchased by the buyer but shipped or delivered to a third-party location, the same destination sourcing rule applies in that sales tax is sourced by the seller to the third-party location provided by the buyer. How to file the Kansas sales tax? If you've registered as a vendor with the state, at the ksrevenue.org site under business, you can fill out a registration form free of charge, and that will allow you to file your sales tax online at ksrevenue.org. For unregistered vendors, we as special event agents have provided a special event sales tax return, or what we call an ST16 SE, and that provides certain requirements. When you meet that you have participated in no more than 4 events in any calendar year, you must remit sales tax from each event attended, and failure to remit sales tax on either form may result in the vendor being registered and assessed. So when we talk about farmers markets, we have extended the 4 events into one location being one event. So if you are going every Saturday to the same park location for the farmers market, the beginning of that is in March, and through October, that is one event. Now, if you move and you go to a different park, that would be a separate event. And that's how those accumulate the number that we watch for. So here's what ST16 is like. Here's some additional information on this box. If you already are registered and you're going to file online and you get this form from your coordinator, all you need to do is enter in your sales tax number in this box, and we'll transfer that to your special event account. If you need to know the taxing jurisdiction for this event, it is provided on this form as well. This is in Manhattan, Riley County. When you file online, if you already have your number, you will need to know that. And it'll be on page 3 of your filing return. That's the jurisdiction code. This is the actual sales tax rate that's been confirmed for this location. So that can be used in your calculations. After you have gone through this, we ask for your signature and your daytime phone. So to calculate the payment amount, we're going to do some remedial math. Gross sales is what we're looking for, the receipts being the total collected minus your sales tax if it was included in your sale price. Tangible personal property is the cost of samples you've given out, or if you have sold to a nonprofit that has provided you their sales tax certificate. For deductions, this is for those sales exempt entities that we discussed. Other deductions for expenses would be on your IRS federal income, not your sales tax form. So you add those lines together to get your subtotal. That's the total due for the sales tax collected, and you can remit that to us as is included on the form address. This is kind of a little funny example. Kelly Pasquarelli has a business called Kelly's Smelly Belly Jellies. So she is sold between April and October for $1,200 at the tax rate of 8.95. So here's that same example, the total collected divided by 1 point the sales tax rate is what you need to back your sales tax out. So you'll take your total sales divided by the 1.895. That comes up with that total of 1101.42. That is your gross sales. So the sales tax collected after you've done that math is 98.58. So here we go, and how you fill out the form, just as an example. Okay, there would be 99.65 is what you would pay for your taxes, for sales tax. And you can sign that and put your phone number on there for us and file on the ST16. You can mail that in the envelope that's received from your coordinator of the market. That is our return address for you. So filing with a registered sales tax ID, you go into the website that's provided here. Once you've registered, you can call into this taxpayer assistance number to get your initial PIN or password with your email address. Then you can go to customer service, and up in the upper right-hand corner is where you would sign in using your email and password. Okay, so at that point, you would click on account management, get your account listings, and you can fill in the forms on your 004 number. That's the sales tax that's been assigned to you. So then you can click continue and save, and you've been set up to file and pay online. So you can use the KDOR website, as I referenced, ksrevenue.org. Click on your business tax, calculate your sales tax. ZIP +4 is really what's best to use in the sales tax tax locator so that it's specific to that jurisdiction. They are effective the first of every quarter. If there's going to be any changes, that's when it would be posted online. And you can sign up for the change of email notifications, but it's your responsibility to use the correct sales tax. Here's what the form looks like online, and you'll just select right here for the address of where you've made your sale. Okay, so there's your information. Looks like online. Here's what the coordinator's responsibilities are. A lot of you have taken that on at least 1 month before the event. You contact us it's in your area or to the KS Special Events email, and you request a packet request form and tell us how many people you expect. And then 2 weeks before the event, if you have that vendors list already, you can submit that to us. Here is the special events map, the regions that we have covered by, here is where the area I cover, we call MAC 1, metro area. And here's all of the contacts for our different agents. You can always, if you can't decide where these are your counties, you can always email to this number here or fax, and it'll be disseminated to the correct agent for you. So during the event, you provide the vendor with the sales tax return that you receive from the state printer after you've submitted your tax packet request. And you ask the vendors to display the registration certificate that's at the top of this ST16 or one that has been provided to you for your registration. If they'll post that in their booth so that people know that you are charging sales tax. After the event, the coordinator is required to send us back the updated vendor list who participated in the market during the seasons. And this allows us collection efforts that we can get back with the vendor if they have any questions, and send them some reminders that sales tax is due 30 days after the event has completed. So we follow up with those vendors. Failure to remit can result in further action. Tax clearance may be denied. We may force them to register. With a big enough non-compliance issues, we do hand this off to our tax warrant team that can actually go through some seizures. We try and work that out beforehand. Here's a vendor list example. This is the fields of information that we need. A lot of times we just ask that you put a sign-in sheet out for your vendors so that they can provide it for you. If they have their tax ID, it's good to know here. But we do need to have the street address because we do a lot with mailing, not electronic emails. Some vendor markets are accepting farm winery sales. If you do have information needed, you can go to this website here. You must obtain a $25 annual permit to sell. They need to be domestic wines in the original unopened container. And those, of course, selling wine must be at least 21. So the ways KDOR can help: we can answer your tax questions. We provide required forms, tax assistance for filing, remitting, and registering. We work with the event coordinators, the individual vendors, and the local municipality authorities that are allowing those vendor markets to take place, and look to see that we can get tax compliance. So, we have Ronald Reagan's picture up here because he once said the scariest words were, "I'm from the government and I'm here to help." But that's truly what we do want to do, is help and educate people so that they know their avenues to get what they need with assistance for filing sales tax and any forms, that information, FAQs and such are on the website as well. Are there any questions now? If you'd like to submit those in the chat, I'm available.
Yes, we do have some questions for you, Lisa. There are some really good ones that came in. And I know that, oops, now I pulled up the wrong screen here. So Lisa, if you want to just mention briefly about SNAP and just to mention that if there's sales tax on SNAP and double up, maybe just to kind of reiterate that.
Yes, it goes when you're making sales with SNAP, you keep track of those dollar amounts that went out to the people that have provided you the tokens. The next presenter will actually go into great detail on the program itself and how you qualify for that. But when you're filling out that remittance that was shown, you will put the amount of that sale under merchandise consumed, and you will not be you will not be taking or charging sales tax on the SNAP program. So that produce, you'll keep that amount, put it under the title box that is merchandise consumed, and there will not be any tax applied.
Okay. And Dana, did you want to ask the questions or did you want me to? Sorry.
That's no problem. With it, I can sure ask some of those. If Lisa wants to stop sharing her screen, that would be great as we get ready to do this. Super. Sounds great. So we have some questions for you. One of them's procedurally. If I've misplaced my paper with the vendor registration information on it, can it be requested for a duplicate to be emailed or mailed to the person?
The vendor registration, meaning the return, can be emailed, absolutely. The coordinators can take copies of any one that they may have. We try, when we send it out, to send electronic version as well for them. So if by some chance you can't reach the coordinator and you just need a form, there is a form name of CTE-50 on that ksrevenue.org site that is a generic sales tax return, and you would just be required to enter in all of your information manually instead of using that other form that we saw in the presentation. So either way can be emailed back to the vendor if there's any problem. Just
great. You talked a lot. Oh, sorry about that. You talked a lot on sales tax on sales. Could you briefly talk about sales tax exemptions for agriculture purposes?
Yes, that KS-1510 that was referenced in there has the whole list of what is agricultural based. But to get those exemptions, you will need to go out online and request a form called ST-28A for agriculture. Once you send in that request, you will then get back an exemption form, and that will need to be provided anytime that you are purchasing produce.
Great.
That exemption form.
Super. Some of the questions continue. When I go to an event that's out of state, am I paying that state as a destination sales point?
You are paying the state tax of that area where the sale is made. Yes. So you would be paying, as an example, Missouri or Oklahoma. You would be paying the tax rate for that jurisdiction that you are making the sale in.
Great.
Does that answer the question?
Yeah, you mentioned in your presentation, but if you want to, reiterate this, that on sales tax, it's collected for the information from the location where the sale is made, correct? Not where it's grown or produced, but at that sale point.
Where the buyer takes possession is where the sales tax rate goes into effect. So if you're shipping your produce, a box of apples across to which, a different county and city, that county and city that you ship to is the tax rate that is charged. So it's where the merchandise is taken possession of by the buyer.
Great. That's great news there. If you're registered, do you have to submit advanced sales tax, or can it be included in your quarterly report?
It can be included in your quarterly. Whatever your filing frequency is, that's great. but it will need to be listed at what jurisdiction code that you made the sale at. And that's on the page 3 of your online return. And you need to be set up as a non-fixed filer, which means you can make sales anywhere, not just from a brick and mortar storefront.
Great. There's a lot of other questions for you that are on the Q&A, and I think a lot of those can be answered if you want to go in and type those answers in. So then that way we can roll to Amy and get her presentation as well. But there's super questions on there. And so for those of you that have submitted, we'll go ahead and have Lisa type those answers in for you.
Absolutely.
And so we'll go from there and we'll get ready for our next speaker. Thank you.
You bet. Thank you.
Great. Thanks very much, Lisa. And thanks, Dana, for helping with the questions. Thank you so much, Lisa, for all your information. And yes, we can see that obviously you gave a great presentation because it brought up a lot of questions too. So, and so they can see that you're a very approachable and an easy person to ask questions to. So
absolutely. The contact information I'm sure was on the slides that, you know, that you can reach out to me at any time. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Lisa. So now we are going to turn it over to Amy Crone, and she's with MarketLink. And so, and Amy can explain it more, but MarketLink is a technology that you can use to help to be able to accept SNAP, which is Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. So you can accept the EBT, so like the electronic benefits transfer of SNAP. So she will be able to help provide lots of information on how you can accept SNAP. And we know that this is a really important topic this year, last year, and this year, and in the future. You know, so many more people are using SNAP and would be eligible for SNAP. So this is a great way that farmers market vendors and direct to consumer sellers can really bring in more income, and we can help serve our low income populations as well. So, so Amy, thank you so much for joining us today. And I am now going to turn it over to Amy. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for inviting me to share this information with you all. As you just heard, MarketLink is a federal government program. It's actually funded by USDA. And we'll go through the details here in these slides. If you have questions, we'll take them at the end, just as we did with the previous presentation. Oh, let me see if I can get to the next slide. There we go. So what exactly is MarketLink? It is a program of the National Association of Farmers Market Nutrition Programs, otherwise known as NAFMNP. This is a national nonprofit that was founded in the early 1990s, hand in hand with the Farmers Market Nutrition Programs, which are the Women, Infants, and Children, or WIC FMNP, and the Seniors FMNP. Those are currently paper check-based programs for those of you that may not be familiar with them. And SNAP is an electronic benefit transfer. So MarketLink is a complete technology solution that we developed first in 2013 in conjunction with Novadia Group, and it provides state-of-the-art equipment and technology to be able to accept SNAP. MarketLink is actually the only app through which you can accept SNAP to this day. And this program is nationwide, so anyone across the country that is a direct marketing farmer or farmer's market is eligible to apply. So MarketLink is made up of the groups you see on the left-hand side. As I mentioned already, NAFMNP is the organization managing the project. We work very closely with USDA's Food and Nutrition Service, which is the agency that implements SNAP and authorizes retailers to accept SNAP. And then lastly, as I mentioned already, we work with Novadia Group. They are a software and technology company based in Austin, Texas, and they are the creators of the Total Pay point of sale applications. So how it works, you see on the right-hand side, first the farmer or market goes through the MarketLink eligibility assessment to let you know whether or not you qualify for the grant. Second, you need to get your FNS authorization or your approval to accept SNAP as a retailer. Third, you set up your processing account with Novadia Group in order to be able to make that electronic transaction. And then fourth, your equipment ships. Here are some of the overview of the benefits to this program. On the left, you see benefits to accepting electronic payments. And whereas even just a few years ago, farmers markets were often cash-based venues to accept payments, I think really in the past couple of years, and of course with the pandemic, there's been a huge shift to electronic payments. So if farmers and markets aren't accepting electronic payments, they're really missing out on a big opportunity. On the right-hand side, you see some of the benefits of the MarketLink program specifically. Whereas some states are able to offer their own programs based on USDA funding as well, there are actually 29 states in that category. Those machines are intended to be SNAP only. The MarketLink setup, you can also accept credit and debit, and the idea is that we're able to combine all of the benefits in one easy-to-use place for both the farmer or the market and the customer. You can also expand your customer base by accepting SNAP. There's not actually as much overlap between Farmers Market Nutrition Program customers and SNAP customers as you might think. So this is a potential entirely new customer base for the farmer or market. We've also lastly negotiated the best rates for processing, and I will get into the details of those rates in a little bit. Again, just to reiterate the benefits of accepting SNAP, it's really a virtuous circle, as you see there in our graphic on the right-hand side. You can build a sense of community while improving food access, ensure your shoppers are being well fed while creating market opportunities for your farmers. You can increase sales and improve profitability, and of course, expand the overall customer base of either the farm and the market, both really. So this is a slide to demonstrate how much funding has actually been allocated to SNAP. So if you're familiar with the Farmers Market Nutrition Program, you see that's the red line at the bottom. It's been funded at roughly 45 million per year, whereas SNAP, and this slide is actually a little bit out of date due to the recent numbers that were released regarding pandemic EBT, as they're calling it. So USDA put almost $100 billion into SNAP last year due to the pandemic. These are facts about the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program if you're not familiar with it. Any person who qualifies based on income can be eligible to receive SNAP. Last year, that's actually 2018 figures. So over the course of the pandemic years, that figure is much higher, unfortunately. Eligible foods you see listed there. Essentially, it's should be probably the vast majority of what one would find at a farmer's market. Ineligible foods are non-food products such as flours, wine and alcohol, and hot foods or foods meant to be eaten on site. As the title of the program gives you a clue to, it is intended to be a supplemental nutrition program, meaning that this supplements the diet of the participants, and anything that they purchase should be able to be taken home and put in their pantry. This is a quick overview of the equipment options that we have. If you do qualify for the grant, you can get a free card reader, a 1-year license to the Total Pay Go app, and then a printer waiver so that you don't have to provide a printed receipt. You can text or email it instead. But even if you're not eligible, we do have ways that we can assist you, providing technical assistance to become SNAP authorized or helping you to figure out what equipment package is right for your needs. This is a further elaboration of the technical assistance. We do have a nationwide team, and we can assist farmers and markets with all the steps of the process, including that eligibility assessment I mentioned. And I should have mentioned earlier, the eligibility for the program is just that a direct marketing farmer or farmer's market has not received equipment from MarketLink since October of 2019. So for those that may have received equipment through earlier programs, this is actually a great opportunity to upgrade that equipment and get a free year of the license for Total Pay Go. Most importantly, perhaps on this slide, we can also assist with the USDA F&S SNAP retailer approval. So we can actually submit the retailer application on your behalf as a farmer or market and help you become an approved retailer by USDA. It's an online process, and we can work with you through every step of that to ensure your approval on a timely basis from USDA. There at the bottom, you see the link to book a time with one of our regional representatives, which can help you with any part of the process from beginning to end. So as I mentioned, this is the current iteration of a USDA grant program that has been going on since about 2013. So the current version of this grant, these are the new items that we're implementing. I mentioned the eligibility already. Secondly, the printer waiver is for those that receive equipment through this grant. Third, Novadio Group is now an EBT third-party processor, which I'll go into in more detail in a few slides. And for those that may be familiar with previous programs, what was formerly known as the Mobile Market Plus application is being phased out, and the new app is called Total Pay Go. The reason for this change in the app is because Square is also now an option for credit and debit processing and can be added directly to the Total Pay Go app itself. The printer waiver has been approved for USDA for those who receive equipment through this grant. There is a federal regulation that you need to provide a printed receipt for SNAP recipients, which is what this waiver addresses. If you are using equipment from previous grants, you do need to continue using that printer. And USDA's goal is to make this printer waiver a permanent requirement for the entire category of farmers market and direct marketing farmers. So we're just waiting to hear as they work through the process to make that a reality. And then lastly, if you still need or want a printer, you can still purchase one from Novadio Group directly. As I mentioned before, Novadio Group is now a third-party processor, or otherwise known as TPP. And some of the advantages of this is that we now can offer, after the one-year license that's provided to you through the grant, you can sign up for a month-to-month license with no long-term contracts, no early termination fees, and perhaps most importantly, there are no transaction fees for SNAP EBT transactions. There aren't any setup fees, and there are no ACH fees either. Equipment. This is a bring your own device program, so customers will need to have their own smart device to run the Total Pay Go app on. That can be an Android device, it can be an Apple device, it can be a phone or a tablet. It just has to have these operating systems or higher. Of course, you do also need internet or data service. Essentially, that device that you're running the app on needs to be functioning so that that transaction can be processed. This is a summary of the transaction rates. On the left, as I mentioned before, there are no transaction rates for SNAP EBT if you're processing through Novadio Group. You may select WorldPay as your third-party processor as an alternative to Novadio Group. They are still offering a 3-year contract, and the rates that you see there in the middle. And then if you choose to add Square, you can utilize that program in which we have negotiated a slightly lower rate than what you would get off the shelf from Square. This is a screen showing you what the Total Pay Go app looks like. You'll see on the left, the login screen, and then from the second to left, you can see what the different tender types look like that you can select from if you're accepting those various options. And then on the right 2 screens, you see some of the back-end technical screens. This is where you can find more information about Total Pay and the entire suite of options that Novadio Group offers. And then this is another important piece, is that when you do sign up and participate in this program, you are provided access to an online portal that's available to you 24 hours a day. You can download your data, you can analyze your data, and essentially use it to make good business decisions, or have it be incorporated into your financial plans or your other financial software. So in order to get started, please go to marketlink.org/apply. It's a very simple application. It should only take you a few minutes to complete, and then you'll receive a response to that application within 1 to 2 business days. If you have your FNS number already and are just looking to get equipment, sometimes you can get that in as little as a week if you complete all of the necessary steps in the process. Unfortunately, as we've been working very closely with USDA, we've been able to get FNS applications completed and turned around within a few weeks at most. So we are trying to get folks equipment as soon as possible. For those that are applying, these are a few things to remember. You do need to have an active email account. That's how we conduct all communication. You must have a bank account for the electronic transactions and be able to provide that banking information to Novadio Group so that they can make sure that the funds go to the right place. And if you will need to submit copies of documentation to USDA, including your social security number and a copy of your license. And then of course, it's easiest if you collect all of your business information to have ready to complete the necessary forms. As I mentioned, you can purchase all of the pieces that I've talked about today if you don't qualify for the grant, and we can also provide you with technical assistance to figure out which setup is right for you. So as another portion of the agreement that we have with USDA, we do have some work included to do future developments for the app. So the mission of NAFMMP is to increase sales for local producers. And the ultimate goal is to be able to add all federal benefits to the app. This will lead to more streamlined use for farmers, as well as less stigma for customers and an easier interface for them to be able to access all of their benefits in one place. We are also working on transitioning the Farmers Market Nutrition Program to an electronic format in conjunction with state agencies. As I mentioned before, those are mostly paper checks across the country currently, and we're working on electronic solutions to shift to that more touchless system in the future. There are opportunities for gift cards and loyalty programs. And then Novadia Group is also working on the expansion of companion apps and services such as Total Pay Register, which is just as it sounds. It's a register system that you can accept payments through. Working on a customer app to be able to find markets and farmers. And we hope to also be able to assist farmers and markets to be able to accept online SNAP. This is information about electronic WIC and electronic incentives. Currently, eWIC is available in some states through the Total Pay Go app now. If you are able to be authorized as a farmer in your state, and that state is in one of the areas that is currently processed by Novadia Group, you could accept it currently. And then there is currently also a loyalty feature in Total Pay Go that can be utilized for electronic incentive programs. It is SNAP only based, and the program coordinator must sign up, as well as each individual participating vendor. And if you'd like more information on that, you can follow up with me separately, since each of those programs will be set up slightly different based on the individual program's business rules. As I mentioned before, the mission of NAFMMP is to cultivate opportunities for consumers to buy fresh produce from local growers. And MarketLink is a natural fit with this vision, since it's a long-term vision of sustainability for farmers and markets by expanding their customer base, increasing their sales, and ensuring their profitability for the future. These are our social media handles. Please be sure to follow us on all of the different platforms where you enjoy social media. And this presentation will be shared afterwards as well, so that you can look us up if you don't write them down now. And here is our contact information for those that have specific questions for their markets or their farms, or if you'd like to set up an appointment for us to help you through any piece of the process. And with that, I will shift to the questions. Let's see if I can see them.
Great. Thank you very much, Amy. And Dana, would you like to ask the questions to Amy?
You bet. Amy, one of the first questions that we have is SNAP signed up for by a vendor or by the market?
Yes, that is a great question. And I'm sorry, I should have incorporated that into my presentation, which I will now know to do so in the future. So there are two ways that you can accept SNAP. You can either have a central market table in which the market serves as the authorized SNAP retailer, and they process the transactions. The way that it usually works is that a market will then hand out tokens to the SNAP participants to spend with eligible vendors. Then at the end of the market, someone on the market staff will collect those tokens, count them up, and then issue out payments to the vendors based on a pre-agreed schedule. That's the market level system. And then secondly, there is the vendor level system in which each vendor accepts SNAP directly. So you eliminate the use of the tokens, and then also each vendor decides whether or not they want to accept that benefit. And we actually have a great graphic about that, which I will pop in the chat as well as we continue talking.
Great. We had a question, and it will make sense to you, I am positive on this, is what is the link to connect to reapply for another free year and to be able to connect it to Square?
Yes, so you do need to go through the whole application process. So that would be the same link at www.marketlink.org/apply, which I will send in the chat. And then after you go through that process, then we can inform NoVideo Group that you are eligible for a free year of the license, and we can update your record with them and ensure that you have the most up-to-date software as well as a new card reader.
Wonderful. And we had a question on what is the cost per year for a vendor per year, for an example, for a farm who sells direct to consumer?
So if you qualify for the grant, there's no cost to you for the first year. The intent of the USDA grant is for you to be able to accept EBT at no cost to see if it makes sense for your business. After that first year, then you can choose whether to continue. And at that point in time, you can choose to go month to month, which is $19.95 per month, or you can choose an annual license, which is $119.40 for the year. And then I should say that if you choose to add credit, those would be the only fees that you would incur for that year, whatever the processing fees are for the credit and debit transactions that you do at those rates that were included in the slides earlier.
Well, good. We have a question that states that our market uses only dollar tokens for the EBT. What is the best option for a vendor selling a product for, say, $2.50, since no change can be given for SNAP?
Yes, that is a question that we hear often, or sometimes we hear the inverse of it when farmers are asking that the tokens be of greater value for higher value products, such as meat or things like that. So in those cases, usually the best practice is for the vendor to provide the SNAP recipient with an additional 50 cents worth of product. So that they don't lose out on that 50 cents, and then the customer also gets the full value of their SNAP.
Well, that's a great solution for everyone there. And another question we had come in is a market eligible for more than 1 year for the free equipment?
No.
All right.
That's an easy one.
Those are all the questions. So participants, if you still have any more, please go ahead and put those in the Q&A function, and we'll go from there. Londa?
Yeah,
I will
sorry.
also share some of the resources, actually. That's our resource page. And then I'll share the direct links to the vendor versus market level. And then also we furthermore have a one-pager on the rates and fees for the first year, and then also after the grant.
Thank you, Amy. Yeah, sorry, Dana, I didn't have a chance to send this to you in the chat, but there was a question in the Q&A that got answered, that was in the answered pile, but I think it's one that we'd like to have Amy address too. Can a vendor or a farmer that normally sells their produce at a farmer's market in one state, such as in Kansas, use their FNS number to sell produce at a farmer's market in another state, such as in Missouri?
Yes, with the caveat that it is also in accordance to each of those state regulations. So SNAP is a national program. So for example, a SNAP customer, let's see, I'll just use Maryland where I am as an example. So a SNAP customer could swipe their SNAP card, which is the Independence card in Maryland. They could swipe their Independence card with any vendor. And then also if someone were to bring their, for example, Link card from Illinois, then the farmer could also accept that Link card. It's all SNAP. It's all the federally funded program. And then with regards to selling across state lines, of course, you would also be subject to any applicable regulations within those two states.
Great. We had another question come in, reflecting back on the question with the dollar tokens and maybe a $2.50 product. The person wanted to know, what if it's not possible to add an extra product? Maybe that they're selling baked goods like a loaf of bread. How would you consider, or what would you consider for an option there?
It's really up to the vendor. In that case, I would imagine if someone's selling a loaf of bread, they might also have a cookie that they could give the the SNAP recipient or some other small baked good to make up the difference. Or if the SNAP recipient is comfortable not utilizing that 50 cents, then it's up to the participant. So that's really the general idea of a lot of what we're working towards, is to ensure that there is dignity for folks that receive federal benefits and that they're just as welcome at the market as anyone else.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that clarification on it. With that, some more came in here.
Yep.
Let's see.
I see the one here about replacing the Kansas Senior Farmers Market Nutrition Program. So to be very clear, these are separate programs. The SNAP program is a federal benefit program, and the Kansas Senior Farmers Market Nutrition Program, while funded by the USDA, is actually a state level program. So it is by no means does it replace it, but we are working on building out an electronic version of what's currently a paper benefit in the FMNP. So it's the same Senior Farmers Market Nutrition Program, but it will be redeemed electronically rather than with paper checks.
Good. This question's kind of vague on it, that Alan submitted. If we might need some additional information, Alan, on what equipment does the farmer need that may make sense to you on it?
The only thing that the farmer needs is to have a functioning smart device. So whether that's an Android or an Apple device, it can be a tablet or an iPhone, and then you receive a license to an app to install on your own personal device, and then a card reader it's actually a Bluetooth card reader. So you pair the Bluetooth card reader with that device to be able to swipe the cards.
Well, great. I see that you're typing in an answer. I'm just finished on that. I think we have everything else. If you want to read Donna's comment, Amy, and expand on that at all with it. And if not, I'll be done with the question and answer, and I'll turn it over so we can finish things up after you make a comment there.
Yes, it looks like Donna says, if you don't have anything to add to make the sale whole, then you need to round down. Again, I think I covered that in my earlier answer. It's really up to the vendor to decide how they want to work with their customer in that situation. And then it looks like someone else is answering the return and tax one that I'm not sure. I think that's a state level question.
Great. Thank you so much, Amy and Lisa. Oh, there's Lisa. Okay, yeah. So thank you both of you for all the questions that you answered today. And hopefully those of you that were watching, you were able to read through those answers. We apologize that we don't have enough time to answer every question live, but we do want to try to keep this to an hour so that you can move on to whatever you need to do at 1 o'clock too. So we really do appreciate all the questions that Amy and Lisa answered, and all the questions that you all asked too, because that's really why we have these sessions, is to be able to have a chance for everyone to interact with each other to get answers directly. So really do appreciate your time, Amy and Lisa, for that.
Thank you. And if I accidentally clicked that I would answer this one question live, I meant to type it in, but if I could just very quickly answer Jacob's question. So Jacob, it's free for the first year. So the idea is that you can utilize the free license to determine whether or not it's the right fit for your business. And then after that year, you can determine whether you've been able to bring in enough in additional business, whether it be through SNAP and or credit, that it justifies the cost of the license from that point on. So at that year point, you can make that decision for your business and determine whether or not it's cost effective for your business. But I think $20 a month is relatively reasonable. The hope is that you'll be able to bring in much more than that after the first year, after you've been able to build your customer base.
Great. Thank you very much, Amy. And I saw another question come in, and I saw this question earlier too. And Lisa, if you don't mind just clarifying, is there sales tax on Kansas Senior Farmers Market Nutrition Program vouchers?
No. You would need to put that under the deduction piece. Just keep track of whatever your sales are. We do not charge sales tax on SNAP purchases.
Okay, great. Thank you. And since we have 1 minute left, if you don't mind, Lisa, I'll ask you one more question that I see just came in.
Okay.
I'm assuming it says, do you need a license for each location? I.e. a farmer selling at multiple markets on a Saturday. I'm guessing they're talking about a sales tax license, I'm guessing, since that's the topic of the day.
Yeah, we don't do licensing, that's more done at the city municipality levels, as far as if the license is required. Now, we would put an event number on those,
Oh,
and we usually have those for each market. So if they're in different parts of the same city, there could still be different jurisdictions. So by all means, please check with us.
okay. And actually, she typed in a clarification. And so the
Okay.
questions may be more for Amy. So she said a SNAP license.
Oh,
So go ahead, Amy.
Sorry, there we go. Now I'm unmuted. No, the FNS number is your approval to accept SNAP anywhere in the country. So as I was saying before, if you if you move your operation to Washington State from Kansas, you would just need to submit to the USDA that you're, producing in Washington State, but that approval from the USDA would still be valid and you could still accept SNAP in both of those locations. Same goes for if you're selling across state lines, you can accept SNAP in either location. The card just might look a little bit different in each state. So a lot of states like to brand their SNAP to that particular place. Like I mentioned, the Maryland card is Independence, and I'm sorry, I can't remember what some of the ones are in Kansas or Missouri.
Vision, maybe, I can't remember,
Vision,
but
okay.
yeah. But well, thank you very much. It's 1:01 now, so we will wrap up. Thank you so much, Lisa and Amy, and thanks for answering some quick questions at the end too. Appreciate it. So thank you everybody for joining us today. We really appreciate your time. So at the conclusion of the webinar series, which will be tomorrow, you will be receiving an email with the link to an evaluation survey. So we really ask you to fill that out so that we can plan these better in the future. We really appreciate all your feedback so that when we're planning this for next year, we'll know what topics you want to cover and how you want to cover it. Do you want to do it in person, online, timing of the day, all those things. So we really appreciate your input on that. And as a reminder, you'll receive an email next week with a link to all the recordings so that you can watch the recordings afterwards if you want, or you can share that with others as well. So we hope to see you tomorrow for our final session of this main series. And if you have any questions, please give us a call at 785-564-6759. So thank you again for joining today, and we'll look forward to seeing you tomorrow.